To move the motion on the order paper standing in the name of the Backbench Business Committee. Before the House adjourns for the summer recess, Mr Deputy Speaker, there are a number of points I quickly wish to raise. I feel that I was duped over the war with Iraq. I will certainly not be duped again as far as Syria is concerned. I'm totally against any involvement in the matters regarding Syria. I wish to praise and highlight the work of organisations such as the UN, the Red Cross and Christian Aid, but I'm totally against any involvement in Syria. And we want to hear much less from Mr Blair and Mr Clinton and any advice that they might be given, because unless they're prepared to have some of their children sent home in body bags, they should remain silent. As far as Iran is concerned, Mr Deputy Speaker, I've long been in favour of peaceful regime change. Mr President Rouhani...
Edward Lee, I think.
Will he just make the point? He was talking about Syria, the very important point that the community that will suffer most in any armed intervention by the West is a community protected by the Assad regime, namely the Christians, which is the last major Christian community left in the Middle East outside of Egypt.
I absolutely agree with my honourable friend, Mr Deputy Speaker. I hope the House will understand if I don't give way, because I have promised the Deputy Speaker to do this very quickly and set a good example. The new President, Mr Rouhani, seems to have been given a wonderful welcome and press. I would caution the House to judge him by his deeds now that he's got the office of President, because his past track record is not particularly wonderful. Now, the Maldives was a British protectorate, and for 30 years they had a dictator run their country. On the 7th of September, there are new elections. It's very, very important, given that we do have a real interest in the Maldives, that those elections are held in a proper and fair way so that this nascent democracy is given all the support that they possibly can. I was delighted, Mr Deputy Speaker, that one of my colleagues was introducing an amendment to the Freedom of Information Act, but was rather perplexed when it seemed to be that bill wasn't presented. I think it's absolutely ludicrous that people can make freedom of information requests and you're not allowed to know the name and the address of the person who is making that request. The House must change that as a matter of urgency, and I think it's absolutely gutless that people aren't prepared to be named as to who they are. Now, I was on the Health Select Committee, Mr Deputy Speaker, for 10 years, and during that time we initiated a debate on obesity. So all the present talk about obesity, it's as if it's only just been invented. I would just urge the House to go to the House of Commons Library, look at the report that the Health Select Committee introduced in 2003, and if those recommendations were followed, we wouldn't be in the situation that we are now. The Warm Homes Act, which I was privileged to pilot in 2000, has reduced fuel poverty from 3.5 million in 2010 to 3.2 million. But that's far too many people, Mr Deputy Speaker. And although it's very warm at the moment, I do hope that we won't take our eye off reducing the deprivation that some of our senior citizens feel in terms of being warm in their homes. Now, space exploration, Mr Deputy Speaker, is something that interests us all. I'm sure that all honourable members can think of one or two people they would like to send up in a rocket, hopefully not to return. And I wouldn't think for a moment that the UK Space Agency would rival that in America. But given that we are spending a huge amount of money on high-speed rail too for profitability, and I'm very glad that a British astronaut has now joined the programme, I do hope that we will look very carefully on space exploration in the future. Mr Ray Woodcock is a local resident who raises a lot of money for charity by bungee jumping. He will be beating the Guinness World Record for bungee jumping over water at a Welsh quarry on the 18th of August. He'll be jumping a total of 400 feet, and I know that all honourable members will be wishing him well. Recently, I had a meeting in my office with representatives of Coloplast and MS. I met with Coloplast, who were the first company in the world to develop the ostomy bag. They recently celebrated Bowel Independence Day, encouraging newer technologies to be offered more regularly by GPs. I do hope that the relevant health minister will look into this matter and support this company's endeavours. On the same day, I met with the representatives from the MS Society, who informed me of the positive results that the MS risk-sharing scheme has seen since its introduction in 2002. I hope this scheme will be strengthened further in the future, and again I hope that my honourable friend the Secretary of State will look at the matter. I must say, Mr Deputy Speaker, that I was appalled at the announcements concerning a number of hospitals this week, and I would simply say, as I know the Basildon and Thurrock Trust extremely well, I do absolutely feel strongly that Monitor has a real role in what's happened in this tragedy, and the people who run Monitor must be held to account by this House. Now, monorails don't seem particularly popular in this country, Mr Deputy Speaker, but I do think that they do offer another way of getting around our busy capital city. So I'm certainly going to encourage the good residents of Southend to have a monorail in Southend, and I hope other members will be interested in this matter. Essex Bowling Club celebrates its 106th year in office, and they are a wonderful club who've had a few trials and tribulations, particularly with the Inland Revenue. So I'm giving a message to the Deputy Leader of the House that I expect someone from the Treasury, as a matter of urgency, to do the courtesy of meeting my constituents from the Essex Bowling Club and helping them with their tax affairs. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, we've all been here when reports have been commissioned. Chilcot Report and Leveson Report. Great news coverage at the time. Millions and millions of pounds have been spent on these reports. What's happened about the Chilcot Report? Absolutely nothing. What's happened about the Leveson Report? Absolutely nothing. This is a disgrace as far as taxpayers' money is concerned, and I expect this House to take this issue seriously and make sure that we get these reports delivered here as soon as possible. Because I would assure the House, if there were an Amess report in years to come, I would not rest until action had been taken on that report. I am, Mr Deputy Speaker, about Southend's bid to be City of Culture. Now, I was very disappointed that neither Southend or anywhere in the south of the country was not on the short list of 4. All I can suggest to this House is that the Unite trade union probably had something to do with rigging the ballot. That being said, Mr Deputy Speaker, I'm announcing now that Southend-on-Sea will be the alternative City of Culture in 2017. We would do it through private enterprise, and I do hope that everyone will visit Southend. So I end, Mr Deputy Speaker, by wishing you, your fellow deputies, the Speaker of the House, all the attendants and everyone who works here a wonderful summer after what has been a tremendous success in terms of sporting endeavours. And if anyone is at a loose end, I would welcome them to see how Southend-on-Sea rocks.
Well, let's see if we can rock the house.